I stood alone at my Harvard Business School graduation ceremony, scanning the empty seats where my family should have been sitting. Row after row of proud parents, siblings, and grandparents filled the auditorium, but the 5 seats I had reserved remained vacant. My phone buzzed with a group text from my father. "Sorry, son, your sister's dance recital ran late. We'll celebrate later." 20 years of being second priority flashed through my mind as I walked across that stage solo, accepting my MBA with nobody there to witness the moment I had worked 4 years to achieve. But what my family didn't know was that I had been secretly building something massive for the past 3 years. Something that would change everything about how they saw me forever. The cap and gown felt heavier than it should have as I unlocked my cramped studio apartment in Cambridge. Graduation photos from my classmates flooded social media, each image showing families beaming with pride, hugging their graduates, celebrating at fancy restaurants. I tossed my cap onto the kitchen counter and opened my laptop, staring at the business portfolio I had been developing in complete secrecy: Heritage Luxury Resorts. For 3 years, I had been using a $50 million inheritance from my late grandfather Samuel, a secret bequest that bypassed my parents, entirely because Samuel saw potential in me that the rest of the family had always ignored. The legal documents sat in my desk drawer, sealed and stamped, waiting for the right moment to change everything. Growing up as the middle child between Marcus and Emma had taught me to excel quietly. Marcus, the star athlete turned successful surgeon, commanded every dinner conversation with updates about his medical residency at Massachusetts General Hospital. Emma, the artistic prodigy who got into Juilliard, received standing ovations from our parents for every dance performance, piano recital, and art exhibition. I learned early to keep my dreams small, my achievements modest, my voice barely audible above their accomplishments. But grandfather Samuel had been different. At age 16, during a family barbecue where everyone else was celebrating Marcus's football scholarship to Notre Dame, Samuel found me reading a hotel management textbook in the garage. While my relatives debated whether Marcus would make it to the NFL, Samuel sat beside me on a paint-stained folding chair and asked about my book. "Why hotels, Francis?" he had asked, his weathered hands turning the pages with genuine interest. I explained my fascination with creating perfect experiences for strangers, transforming spaces into sanctuaries, managing complex operations that appeared effortless to guests. Samuel listened without interrupting, nodding slowly as I described my vision for boutique luxury properties that felt more like private homes than commercial establishments. "Your great-grandfather built restaurants," Samuel said quietly. "I see that same spark in your eyes that he had in his. Don't let anyone convince you it's not worth pursuing." 3 months after Samuel's funeral, his attorney contacted me privately. The inheritance came with a handwritten note. "Francis, build something extraordinary. Show them what Morrison Vision really looks like. Your grandfather believed in you when nobody else did." Using that foundation, I had already secured 3 premium properties. The historic mansion in Martha's Vineyard cost $12 million and required 6 months of careful restoration to preserve its 1870s charm while installing modern luxury amenities. The waterfront estate in the Hamptons demanded $15 million and extensive environmental permits to protect the sensitive coastal ecosystem. The mountain lodge in Vermont, nestled on 40 acres of pristine woodland, required $18 million in partnerships with local artisans to create authentic New England elegance. Each property operated under separate LLC structures to maintain complete privacy. My business plan projected profitability within 18 months, targeting wealthy professionals who valued exclusivity over ostentation. Instead of competing with massive hotel chains, Heritage focused on intimate experiences for discerning guests who appreciated personal attention and authentic local culture. My phone displayed 17 missed calls from Harvard classmates wanting to celebrate graduation, but 0 calls from family. The contrast between professional success and personal isolation had never felt sharper. While my bank account showed healthy cash flow from advance bookings, my heart felt empty, knowing that the people who should have cared most about my achievements remained completely unaware of what I was building. I pulled up the Heritage website, scrolling through professional photos of my properties. Each image represented months of planning, negotiating, and problem-solving. The Martha's Vineyard mansion featured 8 guest suites with original hardwood floors, restored fireplaces, and panoramic ocean views. The Hamptons estate offered private beach access, an infinity pool, and gardens designed by award-winning landscape architects. The Vermont Lodge provided ski-in, ski-out access, hand-hewn timber construction, and a wine cellar stocked with rare vintages. Despite generating steady revenue for 6 months, Heritage remained my secret. My parents still asked when I was going to get a real job and suggested I consider law school like normal people do. The irony wasn't lost on me that while they worried about my future, I was already building an empire that would surpass anything our family had ever achieved. That graduation night, sitting alone in my apartment with my MBA diploma, propped against a stack of business documents, I made a decision that would change everything. I was going to accelerate my expansion timeline and transform Heritage from a regional operation into a national luxury brand. My family had missed my biggest academic moment, but they wouldn't be able to ignore what came next. 6 months later, I sat in my new corner office overlooking Boston Harbor, watching my first full-time employees transform Heritage Luxury Resorts from a one-man operation into a sophisticated hospitality company. Sarah Chen, my marketing director, had joined after leaving a senior position at Ritz-Carlton. Her innovative strategies attracted international attention by positioning Heritage properties as exclusive cultural experiences rather than typical vacation rentals. David Rodriguez brought 15 years of operations management from Four Seasons, implementing systems that ensured consistent luxury standards across all locations. His attention to detail rivaled my own, from coordinating housekeeping schedules to managing vendor relationships with local farmers, artisans, and service providers. Jennifer Walsh, my guest relations coordinator, had previously worked at exclusive private clubs in Manhattan. Her ability to anticipate guest needs and resolve problems before they became complaints elevated Heritage's reputation for exceptional service. Every guest departure survey mentioned Jennifer's personal touches and genuine warmth. The breakthrough came through pure coincidence. Thomas Bradford, the Academy Award-winning actor, and his philanthropist wife Margaret needed an intimate wedding venue after their original location canceled due to hurricane flooding. Their wedding planner contacted Heritage as a last resort, expecting us to be booked or unsuitable for such a high-profile event. The initial consultation revealed the challenge. Thomas and Margaret wanted elegance without ostentation, privacy without isolation, and authentic New England charm without tourist trap commercialization. Their guest list included entertainment industry executives, international diplomats, and environmental activists who valued substance over celebrity spectacle. I personally handled every aspect of their wedding planning, from sourcing rare orchids from Thailand to arranging a private chef who had previously cooked for European royalty. When Thomas's manager initially dismissed me as too young for such responsibility, I invited him to tour our Martha's Vineyard property during peak autumn foliage. The estate's restored elegance and seamless operations convinced him that Heritage could deliver the sophisticated experience Thomas and Margaret desired. The wedding weekend exceeded everyone's expectations. Margaret's photographer captured images of the couple exchanging vows in our restored garden pavilion, with vineyard sound sparkling in the background. Thomas's groomsmen praised the property's masculine elegance and comfortable accommodations. Margaret's bridesmaids raved about the spa treatments and yoga sessions we arranged with local wellness practitioners. When Thomas posted wedding photos on social media, the response exploded beyond anything I had anticipated. Travel magazines called within hours, requesting feature stories about Heritage properties. Lifestyle bloggers shared images of our accommodations, dining experiences, and scenic locations. The exclusive nature of our business model, limiting each property to 30 guests, maximum created an air of scarcity that drove demand through the roof. Within 3 weeks of the Bradford wedding, Heritage was booked solid through the next 18 months. I raised our nightly rates from $8,000 to $12,000 per property, and demand actually increased. Wealthy professionals began competing for reservation slots, offering premium payments for specific dates and locations. The financial transformation was staggering. Our business valuation jumped from $15 million to $60 million as investors began reaching out through intermediaries. Private equity firms, luxury hospitality groups, and individual high-net-worth investors all expressed interest in partnerships or acquisitions. However, I maintained complete ownership control while considering strategic expansion opportunities. The irony of my success couldn't be sharper. Every month I attended obligatory family dinners, where my father Brian still asked when I was going to get a real job. My mother Patricia suggested I apply to law school or consider banking like responsible adults. Marcus shared updates about his medical residency, expecting congratulations for routine achievements. Emma discussed her regional dance company performances, assuming everyone found her artistic journey fascinating. None of them suspected that their supposedly directionless brother and son was generating more revenue in a month than my father earned in a year as a regional bank manager. While they debated my uncertain future over pot roast and mashed potatoes, I was fielding calls from Forbes magazine and Wall Street Journal business reporters. The personal cost of my success, however, was becoming undeniable. 16-hour workdays left no time for relationships outside professional ones. College friends stopped inviting me to social events because I was perpetually traveling between properties or meeting with potential partners. My apartment, despite being upgraded to a downtown penthouse, felt empty and impersonal. Success was intoxicating, but lonely. Each business milestone brought satisfaction and pride, but also reminded me that nobody in my personal life understood or shared my achievements. The people who should have celebrated my vision and determination remained completely oblivious to what I was building. When Forbes called requesting an interview for their 30 Under 30 Business Leaders feature, I hesitated for the first time since launching Heritage. Publication would make my success public knowledge, ending the secret I had maintained for 3 years. My family would discover my achievements through media coverage, rather than personal conversation, potentially creating hurt feelings and resentment that could damage our relationships permanently. But hiding my accomplishments felt increasingly dishonest and unsustainable. Heritage had grown beyond a private venture into a legitimate business empire that deserved recognition. My employees, investors, and industry partners all expected Heritage to claim its rightful position in the luxury hospitality market. That evening, standing on my penthouse balcony overlooking Boston Harbor, I called Forbes back and accepted their interview request. Whatever consequences followed, I was done hiding my success from the people who should have been proudest of what I had achieved. The Forbes photographer met me at Heritage Martha's Vineyard on a crisp October morning, when the island's autumn foliage provided a perfect backdrop for the magazine shoot. I wore a tailored navy suit that complemented the estate's restored exterior, standing confidently in front of the historic mansion with Vineyard Sound stretching endlessly behind me. The image captured everything I had built: elegant success and quiet confidence. The headline read, "The Hotel Whisperer: How Francis Morrison Built America's Most Exclusive Resort Chain Before Age 30." The article detailed Heritage's $47 million revenue in our first full year of operation, with nightly rates commanding between $8,000 and $15,000 per property. Forbes described our business model as Airbnb meets Four Seasons, meets private club exclusivity, highlighting my Harvard MBA and innovative approach to luxury hospitality. The magazine emphasized Heritage's cultural integration strategy, showcasing how each property reflected authentic local character rather than generic luxury branding. Our Martha's Vineyard estate featured partnerships with local fishermen, farmers, and artisans. The Hamptons property collaborated with regional wineries, galleries, and environmental conservation groups. The Vermont Lodge worked with maple syrup producers, craft brewers, and outdoor adventure specialists. Publication day arrived like a tsunami I had somehow forgotten to prepare for. My high school friend Jake posted the Forbes cover on Facebook at 7 in the morning, tagging me with, "Look who made it big. Always knew Francis was destined for greatness." Within minutes, the post generated dozens of likes, comments, and shares from classmates, neighbors, and acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years. My sister Emma discovered the article first during her lunch break from dance rehearsal. She screenshot the Forbes cover and sent it to our family group chat with the message, "Is this really our Francis? How is this possible?" The message included 3 question marks and 2 shocked face emojis that perfectly captured her disbelief. The family explosion that followed exceeded my worst expectations. My father, Brian, called 6 times in 20 minutes, leaving increasingly angry voicemails demanding explanations. My mother, Patricia, sent a stream of confused text messages asking why I hadn't told them about my success. Marcus called me sneaky and accused me of hiding achievements to make the family look bad. The most painful response came from my mother's voicemail. "Francis, I don't understand how this happened or why you kept it secret from us. Are we really such terrible parents that you couldn't trust us with your success? Please call me back. I need to understand what I did wrong." Her words hit harder than my father's anger or Marcus's accusations because they revealed genuine hurt beneath her confusion. I had been so focused on protecting myself from their dismissal that I hadn't considered how my secrecy might wound them when my achievements became public. Meanwhile, my parents started receiving congratulatory calls from neighbors' country club members and business associates who had seen the Forbes article. Brian, who had always taken pride in his position as a regional bank manager and respected community member, suddenly felt diminished by comparison to his son's accomplishments. Patricia faced questions at her book club and volunteer organization meetings about why she had never mentioned her son's remarkable success. The social awkwardness of explaining their ignorance about my business empire created embarrassment that compounded their hurt feelings. The confrontation dinner at my childhood home that weekend became a 3-hour emotional battlefield. Sitting around the same oak table where I had endured years of being overlooked, I finally had my family's complete attention. Unfortunately, that attention came loaded with resentment, confusion, and wounded pride. "Where did you get $50 million? My father demanded, his face red with frustration. "Why didn't you ask for our help or advice? What kind of son builds a business empire and tells his parents nothing about it?" Brian's questions revealed his fundamental misunderstanding of our relationship dynamics. He genuinely believed that I should have sought his guidance and approval, apparently forgetting years of dismissive comments about my impractical hospitality interests. "You want to know why I didn't tell you?" I responded, my voice steady, despite my racing heartbeat. "Because every family dinner for 20 years, you've made it clear that my interests don't matter. When I talked about hotel management, you suggested I study something practical. When I shared my business ideas, you recommended I get a real job. When I achieved academic success, you were too busy celebrating Marcus and Emma to notice." My mother's tears started flowing as I continued. "I didn't hide my success to hurt you. I protected it because I knew you would either dismiss it as unrealistic or try to take credit for achievements you never supported." The conversation revealed decades of accumulated misunderstandings and hurt feelings. My parents couldn't comprehend why I felt overlooked, pointing to their attendance at my high school graduation and college orientation. They had no memory of missing my academic awards, ceremonies dismissing my internship achievements, or redirecting conversations away from my hospitality interests toward Marcus's medical progress or Emma's artistic accomplishments. Marcus defended their behavior by arguing that I had always been quiet and independent, suggesting that my family had simply respected my privacy. Emma claimed she had always been supportive of my goals, despite having no memory of ever asking about my business plans or career aspirations. The most painful moment came when my father delivered his ultimatum. "If you wanted to be part of this family, you should have acted like it. You can't just disappear for years, build some business empire in secret, and then expect us to celebrate with you. Family means sharing the important things, not keeping secrets." His words revealed the fundamental disconnect in our relationship. He viewed my privacy as rejection rather than self-protection. He interpreted my independence as abandonment rather than survival. He couldn't understand that I had been forced to choose between family approval and personal fulfillment, and I had chosen to pursue my dreams without their support rather than abandon them to meet their expectations. I left my childhood home that evening feeling more alone than ever. The conversation had clarified our mutual hurt, but resolved nothing. My family now knew about my success, but they remained convinced that my methods were wrong, and my secrecy was hurtful. I remained convinced that their years of dismissal had forced me to succeed independently. Driving back to Boston on the interstate, I realized that public recognition of my achievements had created new problems rather than solving old ones. My family's sudden interest in my success felt hollow because it was motivated by external validation rather than genuine appreciation for my vision and hard work. The Forbes article had given me industry credibility and business opportunities, but it had also forced a reckoning with family relationships that might be too damaged to repair. Success was supposed to feel triumphant, but that night, it felt like another form of isolation. Throwing myself into business expansion became my refuge from family complexity. Within 3 months of the Forbes article, I acquired 2 additional properties that would establish Heritage as a truly national luxury brand: the Malibu beachfront compound and Miami's Coral Gables historic estate represented Heritage's evolution from New England charm to diverse American luxury experiences. The Malibu property was a former movie producer's estate, featuring 8 oceanfront bedrooms, a private beach accessible only by a winding stone staircase, and a recording studio where legendary musicians had created platinum albums during the 1980s. The seller facing divorce proceedings needed a quick sale at $22 million. I closed the deal within 2 weeks, after my architect confirmed that the property's infrastructure could support our luxury standards. Renovation required 4 months of intensive work with specialists who understood both historic preservation and modern technology integration. We restored the original terrazzo floors, refurbished the infinity pool to meet current safety standards, and updated the recording studio with state-of-the-art equipment that attracted entertainment industry executives seeking creative retreats. The property's old Hollywood glamour, combined with Heritage's attention to detail, created a unique experience that commanded $18,000 per night. The Miami expansion presented different challenges because the Coral Gables estate was a designated historic landmark built in 1925 during the Florida real estate boom. The Mediterranean Revival architecture, with its red tile roof and ornate stonework, required preservation specialists who could maintain architectural integrity while installing luxury amenities. Working with the Miami-Dade Historic Preservation Board, we developed renovation plans that enhanced the property's character while meeting Heritage's operational standards. Original courtyard fountains were restored using period-appropriate materials. Guest suites received modern bathrooms hidden behind historically accurate facade work. The estate's formal gardens were replanted with native species that provided privacy and beauty, while supporting local ecosystem conservation. The Miami property's location in Coral Gables attracted international guests from Latin America and Europe who appreciated both the historic significance and contemporary luxury. Our multilingual staff, led by Isabella Santos, a former Four Seasons concierge, provided cultural guidance and local expertise that enhanced every guest experience. My team expanded to 25 full-time employees as Heritage's operations became increasingly sophisticated. Sarah Chen developed marketing partnerships with luxury travel advisors, private jet companies, and exclusive credit card programs that attracted high-net-worth clients. David Rodriguez created operational standards that ensured consistent service quality across all 5 properties, despite their geographic diversity and unique characteristics. The profit-sharing program I implemented created fierce employee loyalty. Unlike traditional hospitality companies where staff turnover rates exceeded 50% annually, Heritage maintained 95% employee retention. Our team members became genuine ambassadors for the Heritage experience because they shared in our financial success and took pride in our growing reputation. The mysterious buyer emerged during this expansion phase. Alexander Kane, founder of Kane Technologies and artificial intelligence pioneer, reached out through intermediaries expressing interest in acquiring Heritage luxury resorts. Initial conversations suggested he was willing to pay $150 million for complete ownership, representing a return on investment that exceeded my wildest projections. Kane's artificial intelligence software had revolutionized supply chain management for major corporations, generating billions in revenue and establishing him as one of Silicon Valley's most successful entrepreneurs. His diversification into luxury hospitality reflected broader investment strategies among tech moguls who were exploring traditional industries with growth potential. Meanwhile, my hometown success story was becoming impossible to ignore. Local newspapers featured Heritage's expansion in their business sections. The country club where my parents were members buzzed with conversations about the Morrison family's sudden prominence. Brian started receiving congratulatory calls from banking colleagues who had read about my achievements in industry publications. The social pressure created awkward situations for my parents, who were forced to admit their estrangement from their successful son. Patricia began telling people that they had always known Francis would succeed, and that they had helped him develop his business acumen. These revisionist explanations created cognitive dissonance between their public statements and private knowledge of our relationship. The negotiation process with Kane required me to fly to Silicon Valley for a series of meetings in his private conference room, overlooking San Francisco Bay. Kane impressed me with his business acumen and strategic thinking. He understood Heritage's positioning in the luxury market and appreciated our operational excellence and brand development. However, during the due diligence process, Kane's legal team uncovered information that shocked me completely. While researching my grandfather Samuel Morrison's business history for context about Heritage's foundation, they discovered that Samuel and Kane's father had been business partners during the 1970s. According to legal documents from Kane's attorney Samuel Morrison, and Robert Kane had co-owned several restaurant properties in California before a bitter falling out led to a lawsuit and complete estrangement. The partnership dissolved when Robert accused Samuel of financial impropriety, while Samuel claimed that Robert had violated their agreements and damaged their shared business interests. Kane explained that his father had always spoken negatively about the Morrison family, describing us as untrustworthy business partners who couldn't be relied upon during difficult periods. Kane's initial interest in acquiring Heritage had been partly motivated by a desire to complete old business and demonstrate that the Kane family could succeed where the Morrisons had failed. However, Kane continued his expression serious but respectful. After meeting you and reviewing Heritage's operations, I'm genuinely impressed with your integrity and business skills. You've built something that honors quality and excellence in ways my father would have appreciated, despite his feelings about your grandfather. The revelation forced me to consider family legacy and personal responsibility in new ways. Was selling to Kane a betrayal of my grandfather's memory, or an opportunity to prove that Morrison business principles could create value, even in partnership with former adversaries? The decision carried emotional weight beyond simple financial calculations. Kane's offer was financially attractive, but emotionally complex. Accepting would provide immediate wealth and validate Heritage's market value, but it would also end my direct involvement in the business I had created from my grandfather's vision and inheritance. I requested 2 weeks to consider the offer, knowing that this decision would shape not only my financial future, but also my relationship with family legacy and personal fulfillment. The weight of choice felt heavier than any business decision I had faced since founding Heritage. Word of the potential sale leaked to hospitality industry publications within days, creating a media frenzy that brought my family's attention back to my business success. The Wall Street Journal's headline read, "Tech Mogul Eyes, $150 million Hotel Empire, Built by Harvard Grad." My photograph accompanied the article, showing me standing confidently in front of Heritage Martha's Vineyard. The publicity created new pressure from my family, who suddenly realized that their son and brother was on the verge of a financial transaction that would establish him as independently wealthy beyond anything their family had ever imagined. The magnitude of my success was finally becoming clear to people who had spent years questioning my career choices and life direction. The Wall Street Journal article landed on breakfast tables across New England like a financial earthquake. My mother, Patricia, was enjoying her usual morning coffee and English muffin when she opened to the business section and saw my photograph accompanying the headline about Kane's acquisition offer. The mug slipped from her hands and shattered against the kitchen floor, ceramic fragments scattering across the tile, while coffee spread in dark puddles. She immediately called my father at Pilgrim Community Bank, where he was reviewing loan applications in his corner office, overlooking Main Street. Brian excused himself from a client meeting and read the article on his phone, realizing with growing shock that his son had achieved more financial success than Brian would see in his entire banking career. The numbers seemed impossible. $150 million for a company Francis had built in secret, while the family worried about his future. Emma discovered the article through social media, where multiple friends had shared the Wall Street Journal link with congratulatory messages. Reading about Heritage's success from her small apartment near the regional dance company studio, she realized that while she had been receiving family support for her artistic pursuits, Francis had been building an empire completely alone. She remembered their last conversation 6 months earlier, when she had complained about her cramped living situation, and Francis had offered to help with rent money, which she had declined because she didn't want charity. Marcus learned about the article from colleagues during afternoon rounds at Massachusetts General Hospital. Fellow residents were impressed that his brother was featured prominently in the Wall Street Journal business section. Their respectful comments made Marcus realize that his family's constant focus on his medical achievements might have overshadowed Francis's equally impressive accomplishments in a completely different field. The most painful realization came when Marcus recalled dismissing Francis's hospitality interests as playing with hotels during family dinners. He had never taken his brother's business ambitions seriously, assuming that medicine was inherently more valuable than service industry entrepreneurship. The irony wasn't lost on him that Francis was generating more revenue than most doctors would earn in their entire careers. My parents' decision to drive to Martha's Vineyard unannounced reflected their desperation to understand what they had missed and somehow repair the damage their neglect had caused. They arrived during a busy Saturday checkout, when I was personally ensuring that departing guests received the exceptional service that had become Heritage's signature. Seeing me interact with staff and guests revealed aspects of my personality they had never witnessed. I moved through the property with quiet authority, remembering every guest's preferences, addressing staff concerns with respect and efficiency, and solving problems before they could impact anyone's experience. The confident, competent person they observed bore little resemblance to the quiet, overlooked son they remembered from family dinners. The property tour became a revelation for my parents. Patricia gasped when she entered the main foyer, with its restored 19th-century chandelier and hand-painted wall murals depicting vineyard maritime history. Every room featured fresh flowers, arranged by our local florist partner Custom Linens, embroidered with the Heritage logo, and guest amenities that rivaled five-star international hotels. Brian examined the business operations with his banker's eye for detail, noting the sophisticated reservation system, professional housekeeping procedures, and seamless coordination between departments. The level of organization and attention to detail impressed him far more than he was willing to admit aloud. During the tour, my employees naturally shared stories about my leadership style and vision without any prompting from me. Sarah Chen mentioned how I personally interviewed every staff member, and remembered details about their families and career goals. David Rodriguez explained how I had implemented profit sharing because I believed successful businesses should benefit everyone involved, not just owners and executives. Jennifer Walsh described my philosophy of hospitality as creating homes away from home for guests who valued authentic experiences over generic luxury. She shared examples of how I had personally arranged special accommodations for anniversary celebrations, business retreats, and family reunions that exceeded guests' expectations and created lasting memories. A departing guest approached me during my parents' visit to express gratitude for an exceptional weekend experience. Robert Chen, a prominent Wall Street executive, thanked me for arranging private sailing lessons with a local captain and connecting him with a marine biologist who had provided fascinating insights about Vineyard Sound's ecosystem. He mentioned that he had already recommended heritage properties to several colleagues because of our personalized service and attention to environmental sustainability. My parents overheard this conversation and began to understand the level of respect I had earned in my industry. They realized that Heritage's success wasn't accidental or lucky, but the result of careful planning, consistent execution, and genuine commitment to excellence. That evening, sitting on the property's private terrace, overlooking the ocean, my parents and I had the most honest conversation of our adult relationship. The sound of waves against the shoreline provided a peaceful backdrop for painful admissions and difficult truths. Patricia broke down crying, first her shoulders shaking as she admitted, "We failed as parents, Francis. I always knew you were special, but I was afraid to encourage your big dreams because I thought you would get hurt by failure. Your father and I came from modest backgrounds where people didn't build hotel empires or appear in Forbes magazine. I thought I was protecting you by encouraging practical choices." Brian struggled with his pride before acknowledging his mistakes. "I was wrong to dismiss your hospitality interests as unrealistic. I see now that you understood something about business and customer service that I never learned in all my years of banking. I'm proud of what you've built, but I'm ashamed that I wasn't supportive when you needed encouragement." The conversation revealed family secrets that had shaped our dynamics for decades. Patricia confessed that she had always felt intimidated by successful people and worried that encouraging my ambitions would lead to disappointment that she wouldn't know how to handle. Brian admitted that he had projected his own limited career expectations onto me, rather than recognizing that I might be capable of achievements beyond his imagination. The most shocking revelation came when Brian pulled a sealed envelope from his jacket pocket. "Your grandfather left this letter for you after his funeral, but I never gave it to you because I was angry about the inheritance money and felt like he was undermining my authority as your father. I see now how wrong I was." Reading Grandfather Samuel's letter for the first time 3 years after his death felt like receiving guidance from beyond the grave. His handwriting, shaky but determined, conveyed business philosophy and personal encouragement that would have meant everything during Heritage's early development. "Francis, you have the vision and determination to build something extraordinary. Don't let small thinkers convince you to settle for small dreams. The Morrison family has always been capable of greatness when we've had the courage to pursue it. Show them what's possible when talent meets opportunity and hard work. I believe in you when others cannot see your potential. Make me proud, but more importantly, make yourself proud." My response to their reconciliation attempts was measured and honest. "I appreciate that you want to rebuild our relationship, but your change of heart feels motivated by my public success rather than genuine understanding of who I am. I needed your support when I was struggling and dreaming, not when I've already proved myself. However, I'm willing to consider rebuilding if you can demonstrate that your interest in me extends beyond my business achievements." My parents left Martha's Vineyard that evening with a new understanding of their son and their own shortcomings as parents. The conversation had been painful, but necessary, opening possibilities for genuine reconciliation while acknowledging the damage that years of neglect had caused. However, I remained uncertain whether our relationship could be repaired or whether their newfound respect was sustainable once the novelty of my success faded. Time would reveal whether their apparent transformation reflected genuine growth or temporary adjustment to circumstances beyond their control. Returning to San Francisco for final negotiations with Alexander Kane, I discovered that success had made me a target for manipulation I had never anticipated. My attorney, Michael Foster, presented disturbing evidence that Kane's company had been secretly pressuring Heritage's suppliers and service providers, creating artificial urgency around the acquisition offer. Kane's team had been offering exclusive contracts to several of our key vendors in exchange for ending their relationships with Heritage Properties. Our organic farm supplier in Vermont received an offer to provide produce exclusively to Kane's other hospitality investments if they stopped selling to Heritage. Our luxury linen provider in Massachusetts was offered a lucrative long-term contract contingent upon canceling our account. The custom furniture maker who created Heritage's signature pieces was approached about a partnership that would prevent them from working with competitors. Additionally, Kane's representatives had been quietly contacting our high-profile guests, suggesting they might find better accommodations elsewhere due to upcoming changes at Heritage Properties. Several entertainment industry executives received calls implying that Heritage's ownership transition could affect service quality and availability for future bookings. The manipulation was sophisticated and designed to devalue Heritage's business relationships, while creating pressure for me to accept Kane's offer quickly before operational problems developed. However, Kane had underestimated my relationships with vendors and guests, many of whom reported his interference directly to me rather than succumbing to his pressure tactics. Instead of confronting Kane directly, I developed a strategic counterattack. I reached out to competitors of Kane's preferred vendors and negotiated better deals than Heritage had previously enjoyed. Our new organic supplier offered premium produce at lower costs and more flexible delivery schedules. The replacement linen company provided higher thread counts and custom embroidery services that enhanced Heritage's brand identity. I also began documenting Kane's unethical business practices, with the intention of exposing them publicly if his manipulation continued. Recorded phone conversations, email communications, and vendor testimonials created a comprehensive record of his attempt to damage Heritage's operations through anti-competitive behavior. While dealing with Kane's business manipulation, my family faced their own crisis that would test whether their changed attitude toward me reflected genuine transformation or opportunistic self-interest. Brian's position at Pilgrim Community Bank came under scrutiny when auditors discovered financial irregularities in several commercial loan accounts he had managed. Although Brian wasn't directly responsible for the discrepancies, which appeared to result from systemic problems with the bank's software systems, he faced possible termination and legal investigation. The bank's insurance company froze all employee accounts pending resolution of the audit, leaving my family unable to access their savings or pay for planned expenses. Emma's graduate school tuition at New York University's dance program was due in 2 weeks, totaling $38,000 for the upcoming semester. Marcus's wedding to his longtime girlfriend Jessica was scheduled for the following month, with deposits already paid to vendors, but final payments still pending. The family's financial crisis threatened to derail both Emma's educational goals and Marcus's personal plans. Patricia called me in tears from their kitchen explaining the situation while struggling to maintain her composure. "Francis, I know we've had our problems, and I understand why you might not want to help us. But we're your family, and we need support during this difficult time. I'm not asking because of your success. I'm asking because you're our son, and we love you." Her words revealed a different perspective than I had heard from her before. Instead of making demands or expressing entitlement, she acknowledged our relationship difficulties while appealing to family bonds that transcended financial considerations. I decided to help my family, but I created conditions that would test their sincerity about rebuilding our relationships. I offered to pay Emma's tuition and contribute $50,000 toward Marcus's wedding expenses, but only if they agreed to participate in family therapy sessions and work temporarily with Heritage operations to understand my business and work ethic. The family therapy sessions with Dr. Jennifer Stone began the following week in her Cambridge office, overlooking the Charles River. The initial session was awkward and defensive, with each family member justifying past behavior and deflecting responsibility for communication problems. However, Dr. Stone's skill at facilitating honest conversations gradually broke down our protective barriers. Patricia admitted that she had always felt intimidated by ambitious people and worried that encouraging my dreams would lead to disappointment she couldn't help me handle. Brian acknowledged that he had projected his own limited expectations onto me, rather than recognizing my potential for achievements beyond his imagination. Marcus confessed that he had enjoyed being the family's primary source of pride and hadn't wanted to share that attention with a brother who might be equally or more successful. Emma revealed that she had assumed I didn't need family support because I seemed independent and self-sufficient, never realizing that my independence was actually a response to feeling overlooked. The most painful session came when Dr. Stone asked me to describe my experience of family dynamics during childhood and young adulthood. Speaking honestly about years of feeling invisible and dismissed brought emotions to the surface that I had suppressed through business success and professional achievement. I learned to excel quietly because loud achievements were ignored or redirected toward Marcus and Emma's accomplishments. I explained my voice steady, despite the emotional weight of the admission. I stopped sharing my dreams because they were consistently dismissed as impractical. I built heritage in secret because I needed to prove to myself that my vision was valid before risking your rejection again. My family's reactions to these revelations varied, but showed genuine surprise and remorse. They had been unaware of the cumulative impact of their individual actions and words over many years. The work assignments I created for my family provided practical understanding of Heritage's operations while testing their commitment to rebuilding our relationships. Emma took a temporary leave from her dance company to work as a guest relations coordinator at our Miami property, discovering that hospitality required many of the same skills as performing attention to detail, grace under pressure, and creating memorable experiences for audiences. Marcus volunteered his medical expertise during residency breaks to develop health and wellness programs for Heritage guests, combining his scientific knowledge with our luxury hospitality standards. His wellness retreats attracted health-conscious professionals who valued both relaxation and educational components during their vacations. Brian, cleared of wrongdoing, but demoted to a junior position at the bank, asked to learn about Heritage's business management systems. I assigned him to work with David Rodriguez, learning operational procedures, financial planning, and vendor relationship management. The experience revealed that luxury hospitality required far more business sophistication than he had ever realized. Kane's final manipulation attempt came through a public announcement claiming that he had successfully acquired Heritage Luxury Resorts, hoping to force my hand through media pressure and guest confusion. The false announcement appeared in several business publications before I could respond, creating immediate problems for Heritage's operations and threatening to damage our carefully built reputation. The media battle that followed required careful strategy and comprehensive documentation. I prepared a detailed response, exposing Kane's unethical practices and false claims, but I knew that fighting publicly could damage both our reputations and affect relationships with guests and industry partners. For the first time since my success had become public knowledge, my family rallied around me without being asked. Marcus used his medical network to reach influential contacts who were Heritage guests, encouraging them to share positive testimonials about their experiences. Emma leveraged her artistic community connections to generate social media support, highlighting Heritage's authentic cultural partnerships and environmental sustainability efforts. Brian used his banking experience to help me organize financial documentation that proved Kane's claims were false, while demonstrating Heritage's strong operational performance and growth trajectory. His attention to detail and understanding of business documentation proved invaluable during this crisis. The family's unified support felt different than anything we had experienced before. Instead of competing for attention or defending individual positions, we worked together toward a common goal that benefited everyone while honoring the values I had built into Heritage's foundation. Standing in my Boston office that evening, reviewing legal documents and media statements with my family's help, I realized that our relationships had fundamentally changed through shared crisis and collaborative effort. The test of their sincerity had been passed, but more importantly, we had discovered ways to support each other that respected our individual strengths while building genuine family unity. The press conference I organized at Heritage Martha's Vineyard drew representatives from major hospitality industry publications, business networks, and lifestyle magazines to witness what would become a defining moment for both my company and my family. Standing on the estate's restored terrace with vineyard sound sparkling behind me, I faced the assembled media, with my family standing proudly beside me for the first time in my professional career. Ladies and gentlemen, I began my voice, carrying across the gathered crowd of journalists and industry professionals. I called this conference to address recent false claims about Heritage Luxury Resorts and to announce exciting developments for our company's future. The evidence I presented against Kane's manipulation was comprehensive and devastating. Recorded conversations revealed his attempts to damage Heritage's vendor relationships. Email communications showed his false claims about acquiring our company. Vendor testimonials documented his anti-competitive pressure tactics, designed to force our business partners to abandon their relationships with Heritage. These documents demonstrate a pattern of unethical behavior that violates basic principles of honest competition. I explained distributing copies to the assembled press. Alexander Kane attempted to manipulate our market position through deception and coercion, rather than legitimate business competition. The evidence was so thorough that several business ethics organizations immediately announced investigations into Kane's practices. The Federal Trade Commission and Better Business Bureau both opened formal inquiries based on the documentation I provided. But the real surprise came with my next announcement, which shocked the hospitality industry and demonstrated how family reconciliation could strengthen rather than complicate business success. Heritage Luxury Resorts is expanding into Heritage Family Hospitality Group, incorporating each family member's expertise into our business structure while maintaining our commitment to exceptional guest experiences. The transformation I announced represented months of planning and collaboration that had developed through our therapy sessions and work experiences. Emma would head our new Arts and Culture division, creating unique cultural experiences that connected guests with local artists, musicians, and performers at each property. Her dance background and artistic network provided authenticity that differentiated Heritage from competitors who relied on generic entertainment programming. Marcus would develop our wellness and medical tourism division, offering guests access to preventive health consultations, wellness retreats, and educational programs that combined luxury accommodations with valuable health insights. His medical training and understanding of wealthy professionals' stress management needs created opportunities for Heritage to expand beyond traditional hospitality into holistic wellness experiences. My father, Brian, would serve as Chief Financial Officer after completing additional business education courses I had arranged through Harvard Extension School. His banking experience combined with his newfound understanding of hospitality operations made him valuable for managing our expansion financing and growth planning. His promotion from regional bank employee to CFO of a major hospitality company represented personal redemption that satisfied his professional ambitions. Patricia would head the Heritage Foundation, our new charitable arm, providing hospitality training and scholarships to underprivileged young people interested in service industry careers. Her nurturing personality and volunteer organization experience equipped her to develop programs that honored our family's values, while creating positive community impact. The international expansion vision I unveiled included properties planned for Ireland, Scotland, and Tuscany, each location chosen for its cultural richness and authentic local character. The family's diverse skills would be essential for managing international operations, while maintaining Heritage's standards for intimate luxury and cultural integration. Within weeks of my press conference, Kane faced multiple investigations and significant business consequences. His stock price dropped 23% as investors questioned his ethical standards and business practices. Several major partners distanced themselves from his company, and his reputation in Silicon Valley suffered irreparable damage. His attempt to destroy Heritage through manipulation ultimately destroyed his own credibility and market position. Heritage's industry recognition increased dramatically following our successful defense against Kane's attacks and our announcement of family partnership expansion. Travel and Leisure magazine named me Hotelier of the Year for innovative business practices and ethical leadership. Harvard Business School invited me to speak about family enterprise management and ethical competition in luxury markets. The personal relationships that developed during this period brought fulfillment that purely business success could never provide. Sarah Chen and I had grown closer through the crisis with Kane, our professional partnership naturally evolving into personal connection. Her understanding of my business passion and family complexity made her an ideal partner for both my professional and personal life. Our wedding, held at Heritage Martha's Vineyard 18 months later, became the first major family celebration where I felt truly included and valued. Sarah's marketing expertise and cultural sensitivity enhanced Heritage's operations, while her personal warmth strengthened my relationships with both employees and family members. Family dinners transformed completely from competitive status updates to collaborative planning sessions where everyone contributed meaningfully to our shared enterprise. Marcus shared medical insights that improved our wellness programs. Emma discussed artistic partnerships that enhanced our cultural offerings. Brian analyzed financial data that guided our expansion decisions. Patricia reported foundation activities that strengthened our community relationships. The Morrison family dynamics had evolved from neglect and competition to mutual respect and collaborative support. Each family member found ways to contribute meaningfully to our shared success while maintaining individual identity and personal fulfillment. Marcus completed his medical residency and accepted a full-time position developing Heritage's wellness programs. Combining his scientific training with hospitality management skills, he learned through our family collaboration. His wedding to Jessica became a celebration of both personal happiness and professional achievement. Emma's integration of arts programming transformed Heritage properties from luxury accommodations into cultural destinations. Her partnerships with regional artists, musicians, and performers created unique experiences that attracted guests seeking authentic cultural engagement rather than generic luxury amenities. Brian's financial management skills helped Heritage implement sophisticated revenue optimization and investment strategies that supported our international expansion while maintaining operational excellence. His transformation from skeptical parent to trusted business partner represented personal growth that strengthened our family relationships. Patricia's foundation work provided her with meaningful purpose while creating positive publicity for Heritage and developing a pipeline of well-trained, motivated employees who understood our service philosophy from their scholarship experiences. Heritage Family Hospitality Group's valuation reached $212 million within 2 years of our family partnership announcement. Our consistent profitability, international expansion success, and industry recognition validated our decision to maintain independence rather than accepting Kane's acquisition offer. More importantly, the business became a vehicle for family unity and shared achievement rather than individual success achieved in isolation. Working together toward common goals created stronger relationships than we had ever experienced through traditional family interactions. The final family dinner I want to share took place on the same Martha's Vineyard terrace, where my parents and I had our painful confrontation 2 years earlier. This time, however, the gathering included Sarah Jessica and Dr. Stone, who had become not just our therapist, but a trusted family friend. Looking around the table at my family, I reflected on our journey from isolation to collaboration, from hurt to healing, from misunderstanding to mutual respect. The view hadn't changed, but everything else had transformed completely. I've learned that success means nothing without relationships to share it with, I said, raising my glass toward the sunset, painting Vineyard Sound in brilliant colors. But I've also learned that respect must be earned through consistent actions, not just family obligation. We've built something together that honors both individual achievement and collective support. Brian responded with words that would have seemed impossible 3 years earlier. Francis, you've taught us that family support means encouraging each other's dreams, even when we don't understand them. You succeeded despite our lack of support. But now, we're all succeeding because of our collaboration. The heritage legacy we created extends beyond financial success to include values of excellence, integrity, and family collaboration that will guide our business for generations. We proved that family enterprises can thrive when built on mutual respect, shared vision, and commitment to both individual growth and collective achievement. Standing on that terrace, watching the sun set over water that reflected our restored family unity, I realized that my grandfather Samuel's vision had been fulfilled beyond anything he could have imagined. Heritage had become not just a successful business, but a foundation for family healing and collaborative achievement that honored the past while building toward an extraordinary future. The phone call from my father that had started this entire journey, the one mentioned in our thumbnail, where he texted about family dinner and important discussion, had eventually come. But instead of showing up with resentment or evidence of my success to prove them wrong, I had shown up with something far more valuable, a vision for how we could build our future together. Have you ever had to prove your worth to family members who didn't believe in your dreams? How did you handle the balance between pursuing your goals and maintaining family relationships? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like this video to help others who might be struggling with similar family dynamics find it. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about overcoming adversity and building success against the odds. And please share this with anyone who needs a reminder that sometimes the people who doubt you most can become your strongest supporters when you prove your vision through consistent action and genuine success. Thank you for listening to my journey from family disappointment to collaborative triumph. I hope it inspires you to pursue your dreams, regardless of who believes in them initially, while remaining open to reconciliation when others are ready to grow and change alongside your success. Remember, success shared with people who genuinely care about you is infinitely more fulfilling than achievements celebrated alone.